Welcome back to your best bets. It has been at least 2 weeks since we joined you, and with last couple shows we were previewing the Fort Wayne Golf Association City Championship. The, uh, the the two guys joining me tonight played in that as well as I did, so we'll talk about that tonight and what our impressions were, how our weeks went there. We got a lot to talk about in the PGA Tour. Will Zalatoris finally wins, validating Johnny and I's pretty much proclamations every podcast for the last year. We might have some PGA Tour live discussion, and finally we'll preview the second FedEx Cup event this week, the BMW Championship. All right, so joining me, as I mentioned, Johnny Strouser is here. Johnny, what are they going to say about me now?
That was an all-timer line right there. Not, it did make sense, but I that might be one of those lines I might use at home. Just might load the dishwasher. Might clean the toilet or something like that, and just scream that out and everything. But yeah, that was pretty fun to watch. That finally see him get that win and make those putts, and that line was as good as could be.
He had to have that somewhere ready to just pop off, right? You just don't come out with that organically. He had to think about that.
He had to think about it. He says he can't believe that he said it, but he had to been thinking that at some point, walking down the fairway, maybe walking up to the green, things like that. But yeah, that was a good one there. That was a good line, and definitely a statement making victory there for his first win.
It felt very like Justin Thomas, like that felt like something like he would say, like a President's Cup or something. Yeah. There. Zach Lear is here. I've heard rumor that Zach has created a Live golf account on Twitter. He's the latest to try to get paid from Live. Welcome, Zach.
Hey guys, how are you doing? Yeah, we're struggling a little bit to find that Live financing, but we're always hopeful.
I think it's out there. I mean, yeah, that's they have the funding to pay you for a Twitter account. I've seen a bunch of these the last couple of weeks. These Live trackers and Live golf accounts. They were out in full force yesterday when the Cam Smith ruling came down. That's for sure. Yeah, that was. We'll talk about that for sure. So we'll get to the PGA Tour in a second. Let's talk about the City Championship. I guess now it may be a little bit of old news. I feel like we had to take a week to debrief and just kind of like breathe a little bit because I know it was a long weekend. It was hot. I know Johnny had bouts of dehydration Friday. I had bouts of dehydration, I think, on Saturday. It was so insanely hot the first 2 days. The third day was a little bit of relief, but a lot to talk about with the golf course. Johnny Filler wins. This guy I'm not really familiar with too much. I know he played at Dwenger, goes to Cleveland State. I don't think he's played in a lot of Fort Wayne Golf Association events from what I looked at, past couple of years. But he kind of came in there the last day, and I guess we'll start with you, Johnny. I know you're disappointed with how Sunday went for sure, but just kind of tell us about how your week went there, going from the kind of the exciting start the first day to what happened the final day.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a tale of two different emotions there. I was the overnight leader after the first day. Despite not feeling well, played really just kind of out of my mind because I remember the last couple holes not being able to think straight. So I think I literally played out of my mind there, playing a couple under par in the last few holes there. But yeah, it started out great. It was still okay after the final or the second round there, and then I got paired in the final group. That Sunday there, and just didn't have it. It was just one of those days. You get great days, you get good days, and you get bad days, and I had one of each, for all three rounds. Really thought I was gonna win. I actually woke up that morning, and we were out to breakfast. Felt really good about. All I had to do is I just had to shoot something around 70. I knew the tees weren't going to be overly tough. The greens were going to get a little quicker than what they were. They weren't quick to begin with. The wind was, I was real comfortable with the direction of the wind. I felt this was mine. I mean, there wasn't that huge presence at the top there. And, I felt that the guys, around me and ahead of me and slightly behind me, weren't at my comfort level on that golf course. And, I got out there, and the very first hole I hit hybrid off the tee to about 135 yards, just into the right rough. It was a real good angle coming in. Had what ended up being kind of a flyer lie. And for me, I don't know how you guys felt with how the ball was traveling. The ball was flying like crazy for me. I was a full club difference on how far I was hitting the ball because of the humidity. And the very first hole, I had pitching wedge going in, and I flew it. I meant to fly it about 7 or 8 yards short of the green, flew it 2 yards short, or short of the pin, I'm sorry, flew it 2 yards short, and it bounced over the green and into like a trampled area on this downhill lie. And it was maybe a foot and a half over the green, but it was kind of when that thicker where the grass kind of grows, where it gets a little bit of the sprinkler water, but it was trampled down from people just walking, behind the green there. So had this really, really tough chip, and in just devastating fashion, flub it to the fringe and leave myself, 30, 35 feet for par, missed that putt. And then I remember the tap in was like 3 feet, and I didn't feel totally comfortable over it. At this point, we had 10, 15 golf carts. We had a couple others that were watching, and I was like, that just didn't feel like a great tap in putt there. That was just not like easy. You want those first ones to be, those first gimmies to be just automatic buckets, and it wasn't. So I was like, okay, we'll see here. And then as it got through the round there, I was very, very distracted by the first few holes at Autumn Ridge are real tight with, they go from inside, in and through the neighborhood. So you've only got like a cart path width, and all these gas carts were trying to zip in and by, and they were waiting, and it just was a real uncomfortable feeling that I hadn't experienced in the longest time. And I'm trying to think, I think this was my first final pairing in City Championship. I finished top 5 before, but it was extremely awkward. And I couldn't get settled. And then as the round went on, the short putts were just like, I mean, every single one, anything outside of basically a foot and a half, it just felt like a battle to make. And I missed a lot of short ones early, and that I was still kind of into it because nobody was really running away with it. I saw that Johnny in the group ahead of me was playing pretty solid, and I figured he would. He's your typical college kid that plays a lot, I'm assuming doesn't work much. So he's got a lot of time to work on his game. He's strong, he's young, he's athletic, and he hits the ball a long ways. So I was like, well, he's making a run here, but I'm still okay. And then, just kind of struggled in and out there. I birdied 9 for the 3rd day in a row, and I was a couple back. We were fine. Knocked it pretty close on 10. Missed the putt, of course. And then it kind of got tough after that. Next couple holes, I should have made another birdie or two, get to 13. Now 13, as we discussed on the podcast, a few weeks ago there, it's got the creek on the left. It's got I-69 on the right. It's kind of a scary tee shot. They had the tees all the way back there. As you know, I hit driver there every single time and can hit driver in the fairway with my eyes closed every single time. Not hit it out of bounds or in the water one time in the year 2022. I think the ball's still bouncing northbound 69. I think it's probably reached Angola by about the time I finished the round there, and lost the ball, made a bad chip, missed a short putt, triple bogey, boom, back to even par or something like that. At that point, I was like 5 or 6 back with only a few to play. So at that point, it was done. It was over with, and I just tried to kind of salvage, make some putts going in there. So the way I look at it though is being more in the middle age, not the young crowd, the college or post college age, where these guys are so good and they have so much time to play. I felt good about myself. If you would have said, would I shoot 78, 71, 68 that would have been pretty good there, but I shot, backwards there. So, I had to kind of put that in perspective, but there's a lot that I've thought about since then that it was like, shit, I should have won that tournament there. Because with all due respect to Johnny Filler, who won the event, he's your typical college player, but he's not going to blow you away with a bunch of talent. I mean, we've got a lot of good college players that came through in the Fort Wayne area over the past 10 years. He doesn't stand out any more than that, but he played great, played solid, played an unbelievable last round when the golf course was a lot tougher than the first 2 days, and quite frankly deserved to win. But it was fun. It was neat getting into feeling those nerves, even though I wish I would have handled it a lot better. Not sure if I'll ever get in that position again. Hopefully I will next year. We're gonna give it hell and try to be in that position. But it was cool with the people, with the eyes on you. That was the stuff I experienced 15, 20 years ago and kind of got back into that. So it kind of makes you want more, but I'm kind of glad we're talking about this weeks later, because I got time to not really think about it here. And it took a while to finally actually get over it.
Yeah. It's why we play, that, guys like us, to get back into that arena, to have a chance like you did. And I think that's pretty much probably starting the week. You just wanted to have a chance on Sunday. You were in a prime position. I felt I texted you Sunday. I'm like, go get it done. This is yours. And I really felt that way because I really liked your position. And it's weird how golf goes, because, when you told me it was the short putts, I'm like, wait, what? You're Johnny fucking Strouser. You make every 3, 4, 5 footer the years that I've been playing with you. So that I couldn't comprehend that, but that's just the way golf goes. Sometimes you'll wake up the next day, you probably played Monday and you shoot 69 and you make every putt. It's weird how the game goes like that. But I'm sure you're disappointed in the end, and you made a good point. You flip that week around, and if you finish strong, you probably feel a completely different way. But good on you to get in the mix, be right there, going to the back nine. And like you said, hopefully you'll be there going, from what it sounds like, Pine Valley next year, in the mix again. Zach, your week, did you make the cut on the number, or were you just a couple shots inside the cut?
I was inside, I think 3 or 4 strokes. So
it was a good comeback on day 2 though, to get there.
Yeah, that's my first city. So first time I've ever qualified for it, and first time to get a play, and I made it to the 3rd day. So those were my 2 goals. So looking at it like that, but yeah, I had a fantastic 85 on the first round. And I remember walking off 9 green and looking to my friend Travis that was caddying for me and being like, man, I really didn't feel like I shot 42 on the front. I had 7 or 8 putts throughout that day, touch the hole and just not go in, so it was one of those ones where you're looking back like, man, I really didn't play that bad. I just had some that went in and some that didn't. And coming back the next day, I think it was because, my dad was back on the bag, and, you played with us in the city qualifier, and, he, what was it, like 13, when he threw the towel over his shoulder, wrote down a little book to score, and then was like, I could do this on TV. Right. So, I really enjoyed that. And then Sunday was a little bit of the same. I got, it exposed some weaknesses, kind of like, Strasser, you're talking about, you're, for you it's a different scenario because you're in the limelight, and I'm just like, I've probably got maybe 10 competitive events in my repertoire, or in my bag here. So I'm just trying to figure out how to play competitively. And I played day 1 with Johnny Filler. And when you shook his hand, he was probably 6'1", 6'2". So he's not like overly big, but he had big hands. I just felt like when I shook his hand, I was like, man, you're a big, strong kid kind of here. And, he drove the ball well, and he just hit some wedge shots and approach shots that were, hard to miss the putt. Like, I think he birdied 5 because he hit it to 6 inches, and then comes back on the next hole, hits it to a couple feet, and you're just like, okay. And meanwhile, I'm on the other end, and I'm on the fringe. And so, it was interesting to just see the difference. And, he plays at Cleveland State. I
Yeah.
think is where he plays. And just he never really seemed, even when what's 12 on the back, he flew the green for a second shot, hits the back edge of the green on the left and goes out of bounds. And so he went back to a spot and then re-hit again. And his mannerisms never changed the whole time. Like, that's been, I think we've talked about this. My goal is how you manage your emotions the whole round. And I saw him have 2 bad swings. Both times he had bad swings, he ended up getting up and down for bogey. So he didn't get crazy. He didn't have any major mistakes. And I played with him and I thought, man, this kid, if he sticks around on day 2, he could have a chance, because he just didn't seem real shakeable in a sense. He just kind of went about his business, and it was interesting to see that. And so for me, it was nice because I felt like, oh man, I had a lot of shots and hit the ball well enough to kind of compete with them, and then just lost on some execution. I don't think I made a bunch of bad decisions. I just think that I'm not skilled enough at the moment to execute some of the stuff that I'm starting to see. So it was fun. It was a good experience for me. So hopefully we'll be back next year and compete a little bit better for them.
Yeah, no, that's a good attitude. And you make a good point. I mean, for guys like you and I, Zach, you can kind of see sometimes the difference, like where we are versus really, really good players. And, it can be a fine line at times. It can be really close. Other times it's a big gap. But I think it's good to see you play with really good players, and I think it helps you kind of figure out, hey, here's how they do this. I can execute this better. Or maybe it's my game plan off of certain tees or whatever it is. It's usually a combination of those things, I think. But I think it's good to see that up close, though.
Yeah, well, and something that I noticed, like, I play a lot with Wyatt Larkin, and we'll go out and he'll shoot 6 under through 9, and you're just looking at him like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, it's there and it's one after another. But then, you throw some of these guys in the heat of the situation, and they don't push as hard and they back up a little bit. And so even though they could go low, they don't go as low because the pressure's on. And it's like, but when he's playing against me and some other guys or students and that kind of stuff, it's just, they're so robotic that they just put up good numbers all the time. So, I think sometimes playing with those guys that are really good in a non-stressful situation, you don't get to see some of their true test of their skill, right? They just know that if they hit it smooth, it's going to go to where they want it to go and that. But the moment you add that stress in there, even the real good ones, and it was kind of nice to compete on a stage of stress with them and see that really there's not a huge gap, even though there is a large gap at the moment. It's something that in the past I never would have looked at and been like, gee, but I kind of looked at some of those things like, I could play, So it was a neat confidence builder for me. It was fun on the par 5, that first par 5 on the front. I outdrove Johnny for the second time. I outdrove him on 3 and I outdrove him on that par 5. And he comes up and he's like, how old are you? And I was like, I'm 41, you dick. And he was like, oh, no. And I was like, well, you came at me pretty strong there with that, considering you're behind me at the moment. But the difference was I hit my ball to like, I don't know, 50 feet, and he hit his, I hit a 5-iron, just barely 200 and some yards, and he hit his 6-iron, that 215 that he was, and he hit it to about 10 feet. I'm 30 feet and he's 10 feet. So I was like, all right,
yeah,
drive for show.
Well, I mean, it sounds like it was a good experience for you, like I said, first city and get your feet wet, and nice building block for you going forward, though. It's funny you mentioned, playing with younger guys, because I played with 6 guys on the week and 3 of them were 16 or younger. I felt like I was playing on the junior circuit. I had my pairing. Anyway, I talked about this on the Friday night show with Ramon and Zach. I had Joey Hughes and I forget the other kid's name. He was 14, and they couldn't have been nicer. They're great kids. And but I felt incredibly old. The mom was commenting how I was such a good role model for them, and I'm like, shit, is not what I want to hear after the round.
Mm.
But then Sunday I get paired with Alex Holder, and it's like that's like the future of Fort Wayne golf right there. I mean, kid, I think he ended up with 73 or 74 on the day, but on the front nine he hit every single fairway, 7-7, hit every single green, did not miss one shot. I think his only bogey was a 3-putt. I forget which hole, but I mean, I couldn't have been more impressed. His swing is just incredibly technically sound, and I mean, it was fun to watch. But yeah, I felt like half the week I was playing on like the junior tour, and all these kids are really good. They're just really good. I mean, it was incredibly interesting. But yeah, the week for me was, and I think I talked about it on the Friday night show. It was fun to get started on a good note with 73, and then come back Saturday really not knowing what to expect. And then I birdied 3 and I birdied 7, so I was 2 under through 7 on the second round. So I think I got to 1 under for the tournament, and Tim was out there caddying for me, and he's like, "Shit, he's like, you're like 8th place. Let's go. Let's fucking go." I'm like, "All right, let's do it." And then I do the Phil Miller thing where then I almost hit an OB on 8 right after that, and scramble to make an unbelievable bogey. And then my ball striking just completely fell off the map on the back nine Saturday. And I've never scrambled and worked so hard on my at any point, and did it successfully. And really I missed a 3-footer on 18 for a 72, so that was pretty frustrating. But I felt so awful on 17. We were walking. I said, "Dude, I feel weird." I said, my body feels like tingly, and I said, I was trying to shake it out. I'm like, I just don't feel right. And I said that on 17. I said, it just feels weird making full swings. And so I'm just trying to position the ball. I think that pin Saturday was like front left, so I'm intentionally missing it short right, so I just have an angle to 2-putt from. And then 18, I hit this crappy low cut drive short of the bunker, and I said, I don't know how I'm gonna make this next swing, dude. I said, I feel awful. Well, looking back, there's no goddamn water out there. The only water on the back nine on Saturday was at 13, and it was empty. So I had my last water. I drank a whole bottle at the turn, and then I filled it up, and I drank that by the middle of 10 fairway. So I didn't have a drop going, until I got done. So looking back, I'm sure that's what it was. And Johnny, I don't know if you had a similar experience, but so yeah, I was able to just somehow make the swing on 18 to get it to the front fringe. And of course I 3-putted from there for bogey, but I felt really, pretty proud of the effort, because I didn't feel like my ball striking was there, at least toward the end on Saturday. And then Sunday, unfortunately for me, the bottom, it fell out in a way that it shouldn't have. I probably should have shot somewhere between 78 and 81, somewhere in there probably. I had 2 3-putts on the front nine. I turned in 40. And Johnny, you mentioned the ball flying, like jumping. Every time I was in the rough, I learned early on, like, oh, I got to take a club more. I don't know what's going on, but I don't know if it was just the way it was setting up or whatever. And it's really weird because the greens were so slow, but some of the greens you would hit, that first bounce was just really firm coming out of the rough. So 10, I have 187 yards in. I'm in the right rough. I hit a 3-wood, hit it, flared to the right. I have 187, and I hit 7-iron. I fly the green on 10 with a 7-iron. It hits that downslope, jumps way. It's a typical Phil miss, Johnny, that I would normally have. I had to hit a flop over that tree, over the green, just to get it on the back edge. I make a 5, but it was kind of the sign like, oh, I'm really holding on here. And then I get on 11T, and it felt like there was 35 carts on that hole. And so it's funny you mentioned that. And it kind of freaked me out, because there's carts up by the green. It felt like there was a ton of people surrounding the tee box. I felt like people were 2 feet from me watching me hit this shot, which, by the way, it started to get really windy at that point, late Sunday afternoon. It got kind of tough with the wind. And so I'm hitting 6-iron, 200 yards over the water with wind, and I was incredibly late on it, and I hit a push cut, and I'm like, get the fuck down, and it hits the cart path, and it just bounces straight to the right, goes OB by a foot, and then I have to re-tee, and I hit that one in the water, and so I take an 8 on that hole, and it was a disaster. And then the next hole, number 12, I hit it OB, and I'm like, oh my god, things are moving very, very, very quickly here. All of a sudden, I'm in the top 20, and then now I'm hanging on for a top 60 finish. So I had to grind my ass off this last 6 holes just to finish top 60. I think I parred 5 of the last 6 just to do that. So it was really a matter of 3 or 4 swings that really got me, but those can be really costly. So yeah, I 70, 73, 73, 86. Just a tough finish. What can you say?
Yeah, I think you guys too, both of you on Saturday and Sunday played late, and it was hot. It got hot especially that second day. I remember being on 14, and like I'm reading a putt, and I feel like there's just steam rolling off my face, and I took my hat. I didn't even have the hat down. I had the hat like on the back of my head. I don't even know why I was wearing a hat. It was maybe just to block some sun from my face, but I was thinking, this is really hot. This is really hot.
I think Saturday was the hottest day that I've ever played golf in. And Johnny and I have played together when it was over 100. I don't remember it feeling like that. I don't know about you guys, but
it was warm. I don't know. I was better hydrated. I don't know. For some reason, always the first day after my work week, I always struggle with the heat. So I felt that, I was the worst shape on Friday by far. And I was, Saturday and Sunday were both hot, but when you play in the city tournament, it's 3 rounds. We're not used to 3 rounds. If we play in any of these local events, you play in any club events, you play, whatever, you're playing just usually Saturday, Sunday. So you get that third day. And then in Phil, in my case, playing Sunday afternoon, you get up and you've got all day long to either think about it or to stare out there and see it, the ground baking and the wind starting to blow. And it's just different because, a lot of us play in the mornings, we don't usually play in the afternoons or later on. So it's a weird feeling and you get uncomfortable because you're in contention. You got people watching, you're hot, you're sticky because your shower schedule, your eating schedule is all a little bit different with the golf and everything. And, what makes the college kids and why they win a lot of these events, yes, they play a lot of events. So they're used to being in position and just golf's just generally easier for them, but they play in a lot of tournaments. And when you play in events and the older that we all get and play in these, you're going to have a level of discomfort, whether it's physical discomfort or emotional and mental discomfort. You've got to get you got to get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. So my dad told me years ago, he's like, that's the one thing that you're going to have to get over. And the guys who can succeed on the PGA Tour, on the collegiate level, on any pro tour, or even the Fort Wayne City Golf Championship, you're going to have that uncomfortable feeling where your belt's not going to fit quite right, or your shirt's going to snag on the shoulder a little bit, or you got just a sweat that's coming down your hand, just little things like that's not going to bother you on a Tuesday morning or some random Saturday morning, when you're playing. So, those guys get used to it. We've got to get used to that more. And that's why when you play in these events, you get more comfortable with that. A guy like me, who's finished pretty well in a lot of the Fort Wayne golf events, I've taken that from college and can kind of know what to expect from my body, from my golf game, from my mental state and everything like that. But, I think when you throw in the city championship, you throw an extra day, it's always hot as balls. And it's just a different situation. And the more you play and the more you put yourself in uncomfortable situations, I think the easier it ends up getting. But also with that in exchange comes, you get older. Are you working out as much? Are you eating more? Are you gaining weight and all that other stuff? So you got to figure out a way to balance it out. But it is fun though. And I always talk about like whenever we do golf podcasts is, having that chance on Sunday. Phil, it's got to be kind of cool that you woke up and you're like fourth or fifth to last group. I mean, that's something that's probably, I don't recall, at least in city. I know in some of the smaller events, I think at Cobblestone, you were playing near the last group and everything like that, but it's a different feeling, I'm sure, when you woke up that day, just your whole mindset and how things kind of went on for the day.
Yeah, that's a good point. I did feel way different, and it is a long way. You're right. I felt like I didn't know what to do with my morning, but yeah, it's like you can take positive feelings or negative feelings. It's your choice, I guess, for all of us, really. It took me a couple of days. Like, how do I feel about this? Playing pretty. I mean, pretty well the first 2 days, top 15, and then just backing up the last day. I can either take the positives and or focus on the negatives. So I chose to focus on what I did well, and yeah, it was fun to be in that environment. And I was so nervous on the first tee. I mean, I get Alex Holder up there. He's just launching the ball down there.
Robot.
Yeah, I'm like,
robot.
Holy shit. So yeah, it was good to have those feelings. It was good to feel that way. And it's, I feel motivated after the city, because I feel like I did so many things really well. Like, I felt like that's the best I've played from probably 150 yards in, probably the best I've ever hit my my wedges. The problem is my long game was not putting me in position to do that. So anything else from city? Live scoring, it kind of works when people did it.
Yeah, that was fun though. I really liked it when people did it. Yeah, my guys, one guy volunteered to do it. We got out to like the fourth hole. I got like a text message saying, "Hey, when do you tee off?" And I looked at it. I'm like, "Dude, you're not going to let the live scoring." Luckily, I was able to text the pro, and he was able to get me our code, which they put on the scorecards the last 2 days. But I think they should do that. I think you should do that for all the events. I mean, they might as well. It's really nice to know where you're at and kind of where you can go for. And even if you're not in contention, you can always set goals. Hey, I want to get in the top 20, I want to get the top 25, and you can see where you're at when people are using it.
Yeah.
I thought from what I look like, a decent amount of people were using it. I mean, I know there were some groups that didn't. On the second day, the kid that was doing ours quit on the 16th hole. So I don't quit, ran out of balls. I'm not really sure, but the poor kid and his girlfriend had a rough day. He hit, we played back to front, and on 6, he hit 3 balls out. One of them was into the retirement home, and he turns around and I mean, his real debacle was on 14, but here on 6, he hits 3 balls out, and he finally gets one into play. We finish that hole. He goes into 7, and then we go into 8, and he hits 1 ball out of bounds, and his girlfriend's caddying for him, and he turns around and he goes, "I need another ball." She goes, "What happened?" He goes, "I went effing right again." And she leans over. She was sitting next to my dad's friend under the tree. She leans over, pulls a red ball out, looks at it and goes, "Good luck," and tosses him the ball. And he promptly hits that ball out of bounds, turns around, takes his hat off, shakes our hands and says, "That's enough. I'm out." And the two of them walked down 8 together. They didn't look like they were enjoying life at all. And I felt bad. I felt bad for the kid. I spent most of the time talking to the young kid in my group, just like, stay in your lane. Don't get wrapped up in everything that kid's got going on right now. You're playing good, and just keep going. But yeah, he walked off and left.
Well, I mean, the good news is the weekend had to get better for him after that, right? That was rock bottom. Had to only go up from there.
I hope so.
Well, anything else on city, Johnny?
No, that was I don't want to. Yeah, do I want to say something about the greens? I was really disappointed in that. I mean, they talked about
that's the only other thing.
He talked about how great they were going to be, and I know there's some membership groups from other local courses who have much better greens. I'm not just talking about the one you're thinking of, but
Riverbend.
there's some country club. There's some country clubs as well, but
Right.
you know, I really wish, as a member there, I really wish they would have kind of just sacrificed the greens. They could have just rolled them, shaved them tight. They would have died for a couple days, and you know, you could bring them back. You had good temperatures this entire last week. They would have grown back here real quick here, and they've had them like 8-9 years ago before any of these people here were there, and they had them rolling. I remember for a tournament, it was the Drew Pearson Memorial that I lost in a playoff into Steve Vernasco, and they had them rolling. I swear to you, it was a 12, 13, 14 on the step. They were unfair fast, and I loved it. And they had them just for a little while there, but I really wish they would have just kind of said, you know what, let's just do that. This is our city championship. We're trying to show the golf course off. You know, they did that. And then I know the mats are good mats, but they were hitting off the mats, and that's tough scene right there.
It's tough.
That's just, they're just the little things like that. But, you know, all in all, they were real proud of how they did things. They were real excited about it, having everybody there. And, you know, it was nice having the kegs of beer at the end and, you know, whatnot. It's a good little sitting area under the awning, but greens were disappointing. I mean, that's what I felt anyways. They were slow all week, because I think it was because of the high humidity. So
I'm okay. And Zach, I'll let you talk about the greens in a second. I'm glad you brought up the mats though too. I forgot about that. I mean, that was really surprising. I would understand if there was like a lot of rain during the week or whatever, but it's the city championship, man. You can't have mats out there for us to prepare for a round. I mean, what are we at Bobix Golf? Come on. The greens, Zach, I think we talked about it a little bit. Incredibly slow. I mean, I didn't have a problem with it, because I said I put it great the first 2 days, but I know that was the large theme of what everyone was talking about over the weekend.
Yeah, you know, I think I've just prepared so much because, there are some courses in here that have pretty fast greens that roll pretty true. I don't know that I've ever thought that Autumn Ridges, when they get real fast, are the truest greens to roll, but I thought that I was going to have to prepare for that likely miss and the rollout. And I don't know. I mean, and again, everybody putted on the same greens. We said this, you know, so I think it was, I tried not to get too wrapped up into it, but I did have a little bit of trouble trying to gauge by my downhill stuff. I don't know. So I could have thought they would done a little bit better with the greens, but what really, I think, now not for me, because I came stacked with water, but I thought it was super disrespectful not to fill the waters for the second group. You know, I was lucky enough in a sense to play early, so we had water the whole way around, but on day one, we didn't. I played in the late group on day one, and I came around the corner and they didn't have any water. Now I think I'd be in trouble, or my wife would yell at me if I went to the thing without a couple extra waters and that kind of. So I was pretty hydrated for the most part. But man, I felt bad for, like, especially you guys, because I know they didn't refill the waters one time throughout that event, and you sent an awful lot of guys, and it was awful hot to let somebody be out on that back nine. You know, I feel like, I'm guessing next year at Pine Valley, they're going to have their waters filled. They're probably going to have some extra coolers along the way. I just thought that there could have been some things done to help the players out a little bit more. But again, what's 156 people in a field for 2 days, and then you got 75 people playing. I mean, that's a lot of headache for that course. But yeah, I mean, all in all, they did a great job.
Yeah, I thought the course was in great shape. I really did. Yeah, the mats were frustrating. The greens were frustrating. The water was frustrating, but the course played well. I think we all enjoy playing the course. I know Johnny loves it. I enjoy playing it. That's why I was excited to get to this week. I thought I could play well there. And it is funny, you know, I don't know about you guys. I felt like I clubbed down as much as I ever have. And I was just like, I'm just getting the ball in the fairway. And if you're hitting your irons well, you can really take advantage of just kind of getting the ball in play and taking trouble out of play. And Tim was like, why don't you play like this all the time? I'm like, that's a damn good question. Maybe I figured something out here. So we'll put the city championship to rest. We got to move on. We are deep into this show, guys. We gotta go through Will Zalatoris' win real quick here, and then talk about the BMW. All right, so Will Zalatoris, what are they going to say about me now? First tour win, first career win, moves to 9th in the world. This has been a long time coming. I think I saw Kyle Porter, great Twitter follow from CBS. I think he said that he's 6 shots away from winning 5 times this year, including 2 majors. It's just been an incredible year. Golf is such a weird thing. I mean, I was thinking this watching yesterday, and even on a smaller level with Fort Wayne Golf Association, it's really hard to win golf tournaments. Will Zalatoris has got to be thinking, oh my God, I'm beating Rory, I'm beating JT, Tony Finau, who's one of the hottest players in the world, Cam Smith, and then all of a sudden fucking Sepp Straka, he's been the worst player on tour for 2 months, and then he's going to take me down. I mean, I was just thinking this can't keep happening. And kind of funny enough, this might be the one he deserved to win the least with some of the stuff he was doing there late in the round and on the playoff. Zach, your thoughts on Will?
I'd have to agree with you. I thought this was the one that he shouldn't have won, and he did win. I mean, I thought Sepp Straka was going to sneak in and take it, especially considering on the last hole he hit it. You know, he hit that shot into the green closer than Will did. And if I'm not mistaken, Will's one-liner was on before to end the round, right? It wasn't on the playoff hole.
Right. 72nd hole, yeah.
So there was a little bit of me that was like, oh, did he just put that hex on himself? I mean, you know, throwing out, what are they going to say about me now before you've won? So I was like, man, I hope he didn't just jinx himself or put himself in there. But the best part to me was the last hole putt that he made. He hit it out and around Sepp Straka's bar marker. You know what I mean? So it just kind of was like the perfect little line. It went out, around, and dropped in. And I'm happy for the kid. I think he's a fun kid to watch. And I think it could be dangerous now for a little while. I think he's not far from being a world number 1.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny, this has to be are the floodgates going to open up situation? I mean, he's maybe the best ball striker on tour right now, at least the best iron player going right now, you might say. Feels a lot like Colin Morikawa's game. Now it's if Will putts decent, he might win situation.
That's a good comparison. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, he as good as he hits the ball, as good as he's hit it since he's come out and had that good Corn Ferry season and got the promotion to the PGA Tour. You know, it was just a matter of when. He could have won several majors. He could have won 1 major, you know, always being in contention there. He hasn't had the week in and week out success that you see a lot of guys. But like I said, after the PGA Championship, when he lost to Justin Thomas in the playoff there, I said he's kind of a big game hunter. He's not going to win a high volume. I don't think you're ever going to see him win 25, 30 times on tour, but he's going to win big events. He's going to be your new kind of Brooks Koepka thing where he's going to win those types of events because that's what he wants to show up for. And not to say that he won't win, you know, smaller events as it is, but I think he kind of knows when he needs to get his game peaking, and you know, he understands his game. And you know, there's been a lot of criticism on the putting because the putting stroke is ugly, but it absolutely gets the job done. And I'm glad he finally kind of, you know, validated it by, you know, making that putt at the end of regulation. And you know, and he hold a good putt there on the last playoff hole to win it as well. I mean, it wasn't just a tap in and everything. So, you know, I think this hopefully opens up the floodgates. I hope it, you know, he wins a lot of events because he's a really likable dude. You know, he's a great player on top of it. And I thought what was really interesting and I'm not sure if you guys saw, after Friday of the Wyndham Championship, which was last week, he fired his caddy and actually made the cut and then played with a new caddy there. So this was his first week on the job there. So maybe there was something that he felt was kind of holding him back, or the relationship was going a little bit stale. As player caddy relationships tend to go over time. So, that kind of, I think, maybe injected some new energy into the post major season. And you hope that this is going to be something where we'll see him contend more consistently and win a lot more events. Will it? Maybe not. He could be just one of those guys that he's only going to show up at the biggest of events. And I consider this one here. I mean, this is the FedEx Cup playoffs, which could, be called the Super Bowl of golf, So, him showing up like that and winning this big of event with a real solid field there. Sorry, I had to get it in there somewhere.
I heard that somewhere.
Yeah, you may have heard that somewhere. So yeah, I'm excited. I've been a fan of his since he came out on tour. I bet him a lot to win events. I was on the fence at actually betting him this last week, and then you told me he was on your card, and I'm like, you know what? Don't leave him off your card. Don't let it be the time that he does it, because I think his game's looking good and everything. Let's just go ahead and do it. And of course he did, and that was a good little payday there.
Yeah, it was fun to have both of us be on him this, the week he actually wins, because we've talked about him so much. And by the way, I think Zach Fitzgerald bailed on this podcast so he didn't have to come up and discuss the feelings of seeing Zalatoris win finally. And we know his hatred for Will. It's well documented.
He is so anti Zalatoris. It's just it's gross.
But no, I feel so strongly that Zalatoris has number one player in the world potential. Does that mean he would be the best? Not necessarily, but I just think that he finishes so well, and so many of these events that have all the best players in the world playing in them, that he's gaining so many OWGR points when he finishes well, and he's going to win his fair share, that I really think he's got potential to be number one player in the world. He's sort of become my favorite guy to watch. I used with DJ going to Live, so I've had to kind of move on, and I really like watching Zalatoris play golf. What else from the FedEx St. Jude? Zach, anything interesting to you besides Zalatoris?
No, I mean, not really. I didn't get to watch too much of the tournament. I watched mainly most of Sunday. I got to play Friday and Saturday this week, so
nice. I mean, and you were just waiting on the next Live event, really. So
that's all I'm here for. Like, let's go, live it up. So I mean, the hip injury heard around the world right now. I think just kind of a, if you're going to penalize me, I'm out of here. Well, sometimes the rules are crazy.
I mean, it was one of the most basic rules. When Johnny told me, I wasn't aware of it. He texted me yesterday. He's like, "Oh, Cam was penalized." I was like, "Wait, what?" I hadn't found out about it. And then when I looked, I was like, "Oh my God, this is one of the most basic rules in golf." I mean, pretty much, that's just something that he should know not to do. Now, if he's not on television, this probably doesn't happen. That's where it becomes a bit unfair to the guys that are on TV that have a camera on them all the time compared to the guys that don't. And then it's retroactively done like it was in his situation. I think it probably affected him. I mean, he did not play well yesterday. I mean, that would be a bitch to, a couple hours before your tee time. Oh, you're getting a 2-shot penalty. I mean, that would be hard to overcome.
26 minutes.
It was 26 minutes. Okay.
26 minutes is when they told him, which was absolute horse shit. I mean, that is 100% a breach of the rule. But you know what? You sign your scorecard, scores were posted, tee times came out, everybody woke up the next day, got on with their day, and then they decided to penalize him. Like, I hate Cam Smith right now for going to Live. I really do. I am very, very resentful of that. I don't like it at all and everything like that. But that is absolute trash that a rules official can look at coverage the next day, because someone was like, hey, do you see what he did there on 9 there? He dropped the ball and it rested on the red line of the hazard there. So for anybody that doesn't know, he hit the ball on the par 3, hit it in the water. Then when he went to take his drop, the ball it bounced and it rolled on the line of the hazard. Anybody who plays golf, you see the red stakes. Well, they have red lines. They actually paint the lines out in tournaments. The ball was touching that line. It actually ended up on it. You have to take full relief. That's not considered full relief. He would have had to redrop it, and if it would have gone back in, he could place it on the fairway, chip it up there, no deal, no big deal. This did not affect it in any kind of way. It's just a petty bullshit decision that they decided after the fact, and I hate that stuff. I hate this retroactive garbage that they do. I hated it when they had the callers that would call in and say, hey, that's a penalty right there.
Oh, I hated those guys.
The same damn thing. This could have been someone from NBC, in the truck, queuing up some footage and been like, hey, I think that's a penalty. Let me go ahead and, alert the PGA Tour. If you're going to do it that day before he signs a scorecard or right after, before the round is completed. Don't do it that morning and then notify him 20 minutes before he tees off. I mean, that's just stupid.
You can't tell me that that's when they figured that out. I agree with you 100%. Like, it was almost like they waited till the moment to be like, oh, by the way, 2-stroke penalty. Now go deal with it.
I just don't understand. There's a rules official with that group. I just.
Oh yeah, there was, yeah, and he was not looking. He was off doing whatever because
what else could you be doing?
The chief rules official who they had on with Azinger and Dan Hicks, they interviewed him and he's like, yeah, he was there. He just wasn't. He was off doing something else, and it was like.
That's what you're there for, to make sure when the guy's taking a drop that he's doing it the right way, that everything is by the book. Yeah. Like, what else should you be doing? You're there to monitor these type of things. I don't know.
The PGA Tour has got to be very careful going forward here with the whole Live Tour. They've got there's an image thing, and you look petty like this, that you're taking a guy who's leaving your tour here, for the other tour, and it's too coincidental. At some point, you got to say, you know what, he screwed up, but you know what, we'll move on. It's not gonna, it affects it a little bit, but it's not that egregious of an issue. So right. It sucks and it's stupid, and it like Zach said, it smells of conspiracy, and it's a bad look. And you just can't do that, because you've got these fans that are they're not sure if they want to tune into Live. They don't know if they want to stick with the PGA Tour. Then they see that and they're like, what the hell, man?
Right. And that's where I think the average person is going to look at it and be like, his ball was touching that line. He went through the process. All it was doing was touching that line. He didn't get better. It actually went back. Like, so, and now you're trying to, well, the rule is he's got to take a complete relief. And now you're trying to explain the minutia details here of, well, it was actually touching that red line. So technically it's not taking full relief. And you're just muddying the waters here and in a weird way. I'm not trying to say that they shouldn't penalize him, because it was, but I don't know. It's just one of those things where, like, I agree with you, Johnny. They're you got these fans that don't know any better. They're just looking to watch some fun golf or some good golf, and you got a guy that's getting penalized the next day, 26 minutes before he goes and plays. The PGA Tour, I feel like, Live or not, has everything they've done has been counteractive, right? Like all the things they complained about. We're not making enough money. Well, now the purses are bigger. They're not like strategically doing it. They're just like throwing darts at the dartboard. And so like it says, it just makes them look pettier and pettier. And I feel like there's got to be a better way to handle this Live golf stuff, whether you like it or don't like it. I feel like they just keep messing up, and it's going to hurt the PGA when it really shouldn't. I mean, if you want to go play a 54 shotgun hole event, like, have fun, go do it, but you don't get any points for the world's number one. I mean, I think there's so many different ways that this could be it, and they just keep going after all the stuff that they think people want to know about, but this is stuff that people don't really care about. So you're you're going to end up losing a lot of people if Live ever gets publicized off YouTube.
I don't see a path on that, by the way. It's may potentially streaming, but a lot of these streaming services are aligned with a network. Like Paramount is with CBS. You know, they have a deal with PGA Tour. NBC is with Hulu, right? I believe. So I think the only one that I read that doesn't really have a deal with any network is Apple. So that might be some a streaming service that they could look at. But I was going to say, I think both of these things could be true, that you can hate Live or the idea of Live, which I do. That's well publicized. I know Johnny's in the same boat. Zach, you're not, which is fine. You can hate the idea of Live. You can feel like it's dividing golf, whatever. I feel all those things. I also feel like that the PGA Tour hasn't necessarily handled things really well. That's also true as well. A lot of their decisions have been, like you said, retroactive to what Liv has done. Now they claim that all the new TV contract money is finally coming in so that they can push this money out for the new schedule. They can, pay out more for the elevated events like the Rivieras, the Arnold Palmers, the Memorials, those kind of events. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Is that just a retroactive decision that they're trying to push more money into the big events? I think they should be, but I think that should have been happening for a long time. And I think the playoffs, I think it's too big. And I know that they're downsizing next year to the top 70 will make the playoffs instead of the 125. I mean, if you think about it, the top 125 out of however many guys play on tour, was it probably, I know it's probably over 200 who regularly play. I mean, it's like the NBA taking 22 playoff teams, right?
Well,
I mean,
Ricky Fowler got it.
Well, yeah,
but he's my favorite. But Ricky Fowler got on. He hasn't finished in the top 100 in about any event he's played in, and he got into the right. Playoff.
It's watered down. That's why I think going to the top 70 is great. I think they even go further in the future, but it was almost disastrous having a guy like Sepp Straka win a playoff event. That's not who they want winning. They don't want JJ Spawn or Brian Harmon winning playoff events. I mean, it was really kind of, that leaderboard on Saturday was like the top 6 guys were like the Spawns, the Harmons, Molinaks, all these guys. So Zalatoris did him a favor by winning that tournament for sure. We could go hours talking about Liv and PGA Tour, but we got to keep the show moving, guys. So we got to talk about the BMW Championship for at least a few minutes, and guys that we like this week. I'm losing my voice for some reason. Too much talking. Second event of the 3-event series in the FedEx Cup. This is at Wilmington Country Club. I don't think they've ever played an event here. It's Robert Trent Jones senior course, par 71, over 7,500 yards, so a lengthy track. I don't really know much about this golf course, really at all, and I haven't really had time to look. Johnny, you have anything on this golf course?
If it's anything like any Robert Trent Jones course, like almost ever in the history of Robert Trent Jones, it requires off the tee. They're big long holes, big golf courses. Got to be able to hit good drives. So strokes gained off the tee. He always has tricky green complexes. That includes the bunkering, water hazards, slopes, all that around the green. So I would say strokes gained off the tee, strokes gained around the green. Got to have guys with good short games because his courses tend to be very, very long. So you're going to miss greens and they're not the easiest to get up and down. So that's probably what this one is. I've done just a smidgen of research on it, and that's that kind of matches up with a classic Robert Trent Jones. So we want good drivers, good short games to win this one.
Good to know. All right, that's good info. So the sportsbook this week, they're like, guys, listen, there's a whole bunch of guys that are playing really well, and we don't fucking know how to price them. So we're gonna make them all the same price, and you're just gonna have to figure it out. Not a surprise that Rory's the favorite at plus 1,000, but I've never, been betting golf for 3 years and had not seen anything like this. So you got Zalatoris, Finau, Cantlay, Fitzpatrick, JT, Rahm, Scheffler, Xander all at plus 1,400. Sanjay and Morikawa at 2,000. Cam Young and Sam Burns at 25. That's on DraftKings Sportsbook. That's amazing. I haven't seen odds like that. Usually there's a bit of a fall off. Usually we're 4 or 5 guys under 20-1, but pretty much you can put a blanket over the top 10 guys in this field. How do you decipher who you like? Zach, do you have a feeling about one of these guys?
I mean, I think Rory's playing pretty well right now. And he's going to be hard to kind of bet against, but that's not really that great of odds. And I'm not the better that you two guys are. But I mean, Tony Finau is playing as good as anybody in the world, right? I mean, it's like that snowball effect. Like he finally got a win and he comes back and gets another one. So I'm thinking that I would actually put a little bit of money on him. But other than that, like nothing jumps at me. Like you said, everything is, there's like 10 guys for 1,400 and then a bunch at 200 and then it starts to go back. So Sam Burns maybe, but I wish I had better information for you, but I think Johnny's the man on this one.
Well, Johnny's the man. Johnny, who you like? I have a thought, but I want to hear who you have.
Well, I do agree with Zach on Tony Finau. I don't know if I like him to win this week because he's won twice and he contended this last week. Tony Finau, I think, as far as the auto top 5 or auto top 10 bet is a solid bet, and I have no reason to believe that he won't finish top 10 this week here. So I mean, you're getting him at small plus odds, but excuse me, but he's a pretty solid bet there. I do like John Rahm. Finally, a little bit. The putting is still a little bit streaky here, so there is some concern there, but real good driver of the golf ball. Had a great final round there, moved up into the top 6 or so this last week. My main guy, though, and I wish I would have had these odds last week for this event, and just played some flyers here because he was such a good number, as Colin Morikawa. I think he's starting to figure that out there, and he's going to slowly start coming around with that putting. And I think he's got the ball flight thing maybe figured out a little bit, but I mean, he's your complete game there. And as long as he can get that putter working there, I don't know what his strokes game putting was last week, but he did have a pretty good Sunday there. Like him a lot. 20-1's a pretty good number there, and I think I'm going to hit that.
I like that play a lot. Makes a lot of sense. He was on the precipice last week. I mean, he made a late run, missed a couple shorties there at the end. I think the number you're getting on him makes sense. My top play is Justin Thomas. Obviously one of the 14-1 guys. I've been with
JT.
I've been away from JT for a while, but I think he's back. He gained 3 strokes off the tee last week, hit it great. Only gained 1 on approach, but he gained 4 around the green. So it fits that profile, Johnny, of driving it well, getting the ball up and down. He lost 2.5 strokes putting, which we know is the JT Achilles heel. But man, we're one decent putting week away from JT. I think throwing up some low numbers. I really like him. I actually really like him for first round leader as well, because he really played. He played 3 good rounds. He played not great on Saturday, but he played 3 really good rounds. So I like JT. I want to look at the Morikawa numbers from last week, but at 20-1, you're obviously getting a bit of a discount. This has been a off year for Morikawa. I mean, in a big way. I mean, he hasn't won, correct?
I don't believe he's won. I don't think so.
And so maybe that's a bit of regression to the mean, which we talked about with him winning so much so early in his career. I think 5 or 6 wins in his first 60 starts. That's an unsustainable rate of winning. But now we're talking about it's been a while for him. Since he's won a golf tournament. I feel like we've seen a little bit of him rounding into form. These guys just tend to, you see a little bit and then they tend to just kind of peak. And I'm hopeful that's what we're seeing with Morikawa. So I like JT. I like Morikawa. The third guy, one guy I've already bet today, and it was an early morning number, was Cameron Young at 33-1. And he's already went down to 20,
Good get.
25.
That was a good one.
He had a really poor putting week last week of St. Jude, but I think if you're talking about strokes gained off the tee being really critical, you can usually start with Cam Young being one of the best in the world right now off the tee. And I wonder if there's some motivation there, seeing his buddy Zalatoris get his win. Maybe Cam Young feels like he deserves to get off the schneid here and picks one up. In the fairness of time, Johnny, anybody past the 25-1 mark and lower interest you? It feels like one of those events where it's one of those top guys, but who knows? Or maybe we got a Sepp Straka out there that could contend here.
It will likely be the 25-1 and better, most likely, but just a few guys that I like. Max Homa fits the profile. I think you could get him at a better number. And if you can look at top 10, didn't play great this last week, but great driver of the golf ball. Just a good, solid all-around player. Tom Kim is playing unbelievably good. Ju Hung Kim, I think is his name. He won at Wyndham and got in the playoffs there, so he's riding some good golf. Not sure if he's going to win twice in 3 weeks, but he's a good pick there. And then Adam Scott played fantastic over the weekend. He was not in the top 70 and got within that. And 60-1 is probably a fair number. So yeah, maybe he's not going to win, but if you like him, something in a top 10, top 20. You could definitely get him at plus odds, but great driver of the golf ball, pretty good chipper. His putting is streaky, so you just take the chance at that.
Zach, anybody interest you down the board there that you like from a betting standpoint, sir?
Not with any real other than just I like Jordan Spieth. I mean, I feel like he's just around. I don't know if he'll ever get that driver swing that he's got going on figured out, but I mean, he's sold in on it 100%. So, I don't know that I'll put any money on it, but as I scroll through this, his name just keeps popping up at me. And, it's 4,000 on him. So I don't know. Like Johnny said, I think it's going to be tough to get outside that top 10, 20 people.
Yeah, I think if you look at the history of the FedEx Cup playoffs, it seems like traditionally it's the guys that are top players, top 20, top 30 in the world that actually win these events. So this is probably more for top 10, top 20 markets, but someone I know Johnny and I are both fans of that we've talked about all season. He's at 90-1, Sahith Theegala. He was around again last week. He fits the profile of a really good driver. He gained almost 3 strokes off the tee last week. He gained nearly 2 strokes around the green for the week. I just think he's a really, really good player. And I don't know. I don't think he necessarily could win, but it wouldn't really shock me either if he just kind of came out of nowhere and won an event here late. So I think 90-1's got some value, plus 600 for top 10. I like him there. There's not anyone that I would talk about Davis Riley again, but I don't really know where he's at with this game. I do like the Adam Scott play that Johnny put out there. 60-1 is a good number. Taylor Pendrith kind of fits the profile of someone that's long off the tee that's been playing reasonably well. He's also at 90-1. So just a couple names there. Who knows? Maybe we'll bring picks back this week and we'll actually put them out there. It's been a while.
Good.
It's been a while.
Good.
Yeah. For the last couple of events. Or you can go back to the Sepp Straka training, 200-1. Man, he should have won that tournament, I think. Really do.
And he's just a weird kind of number here. Top 40 bet on Sepp Straka, who probably should have won. He's plus 110. I mean, that's plus money. It almost feels automatic. Like Sahith Theegala, I bet him a lot of times top 40. I know that sometimes he's going to falter a little bit on Sundays, but he's so good, and it's only a matter of time for him.
And this
is
you could
get
cut.
him sometimes.
No cut, right?
And this is no cut. Yeah. And these guys are going to be, grinding out there to finish in that top 30, because that Tour Championship, the one that they're going to qualify for next, because 40 guys are going to going to be cut after Sunday, from the Tour Championship. And that is just, for PGA Tour standards, that's gigantic money. So this is a really significant event here. And that's why we usually see the cream rise to the top, because they want to get in that top 30 and get that, get that Tour Championship to play East Lake. So, you look at that and there's no cut. So these guys are going to freewheel it, and, you're going to see a lot of good scores and everything, but even look down the board like that, in that top 30, top 40 range at some of these guys, even if they're a little bit plus money, maybe play a few more bets at some of these guys that we've mentioned. And just to kind of, what I call bankroll builders for football season, because we're all going to lose it all come football season. So
Right.
might as well, build a little bit here with the golf. So there's some plus money options here that I like, and I might throw some of those on there as our best bets. They won't have great odds, but they'll have, they'll be the double your money type.
I like that strategy. I do. And hey, no cut event. It's going to feel like a live event, except without the shotgun start.
No music.
No music. And
Hey, one of my favorite events to watch all year is that charity classic that they do, like with Steph Curry and all those guys play.
sure.
And they did it a couple weeks ago. I have more fun watching those goofballs play sometimes than watching the not the last couple of weeks, but the couple of weeks before that, where PGA Tour I'm watching. I'm like, who are these guys?
That's not fair. You're picking out the 3M Open where it's like trash.
Yeah, well, hey, give me something entertaining to watch, man.
Hey, I'd rather watch
I'd
rather watch Steph Curry than watch a live event. I will say that.
Hey, everybody looks like they're having fun. I mean, I haven't watched the live event yet, so
You're not missing anything. That's the cool thing.
Just picture a Ryder Cup, and it's not it.
It
is seriously just it's just a bunch of golf shots, which is cool, but they mean fucking nothing. They don't mean a thing.
Nothing. I'm so disappointed.
That's most of my golf. I mean, I'm like, screw you, Johnny.
But you're not making $100 million. You're not yet at least.
With this face and mustache, I should be.
I'm so disappointed by Cam Smith. I'm so disappointed by it.
Right.
Is it 100% he's going?
Oh yeah.
The guy who broke the news has been right every single time. So, and the way he sidestepped the question,
absolutely,
100%.
I'm so disappointed in him.
Yep. He withdrew this week, and then he's going to play. He'll play in East Lake, and then him, and there's probably going to be, I bet you, at least 5 others that are going to.
I think Leishman. It could be Adam Scott. It could be a Team Australia situation. Sounds like.
Sometimes when you draw the line in the sand, man, some people just step over it because you drew it.
But I think, what do you? This will be another episode.
About
after the Tour Championship, we're going to have to discuss it.
Yeah, listen. If you want to go for the money, I get it, but like I at that point, you've kind of lost your legacy in golf. Like, what are you playing golf for? You're not playing to win tournaments, right?
We are amateur golfers who love the sport.
Sure.
So every time we step on, we are playing for the love of the game. Okay.
Absolutely. Yes.
I know a ton of basketball players, okay, that hate the game of basketball, but they get paid a buttload of money to lace them up and go play basketball. So you're looking at professional athletes here who get paid to play money or get paid to play. And like, how many people really love their job at the end of the day, right? I mean, you go find a lot of people and you love your job. Like, no, but but I don't make no. Yeah, but I'll make $1 million. But I'm a blessed man, remember? So but you see what I'm getting at here? Like, I know we go after these people right now because you're talking, it's not worth it. They don't love the game anymore. I'm sure half of them, Brooks Koepka, you brought him up. He doesn't love playing golf, but he makes a buttload of money and has a hot wife.
That's great. I'm just saying you've lost like your place in the game though, because like you're at this point you've decided I'm not playing meaningful golf anymore. And once their major exemptions, some of these guys run out, then there's no path for them to play meaningful golf anymore.
look at Bryson D Shambo. I mean, this guy markets himself and everything like that. You know, I think he does a great job of it too, and everything. He's not even 30 years old. He took the money to go play in that. Essentially, he's never going to play in a PGA tournament again. He's going to fade in the majors as he loses the world golf ranking points and everything like that. Dude's not even 30 years old, and in 5 years could be irrelevant, an irrelevant, rich son of a bitch who lives in Dallas, Texas. And you know what? He can go take a bath in his cash, and that's fine. But what kills me is these guys, they you know, I would think you'd want to build your legacy as an athlete, as a person. And that's how I would view it. Now, I've never been offered that much money. So I'm like with Phil, I can't blame these guys one bit for taking money, and that's what they want to do. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But is it worth just trashing your legacy as a person? Like Henrik Stenson, who's going to be the Ryder Cup captain. There's not many of these people that ever walked the face of the earth, and he just took, a big chunk of money there. Look at the playoff there at the St. Jude Classic there. It was a sleeper of a tournament up until like 3 holes to go. Those last like 3 holes plus the 3 playoff holes are better than any live event that's ever going to exist combined. I mean, it's just stuff like that just is just wild to me, and good on them for being able to take vacations and set up, for their kids, their grandkids and everything like that. But I mean, Henrik Stenson's not going to be known as the Open champion. He's going to be the guy who gave up his Ryder Cup captaincy to join the Live Golf Tour.
I mean, Johnny, you never know how you're going to feel, though, when the 4 aces, win 3 or 4 in a row of these live events and they take down Team Majestics. I mean, you might feel completely different.
That's true.
You never know.
That's true.
Know. Maybe they'll go. You'll play next year under the flag of the Team Aces. You never know.
Yeah. All right, boys, it's time to wrap it. Johnny Strouser, Zach Lear, thank you, gentlemen, for being on Your Best Bet. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Phil.
Fair, I thought you were going to say best behavior. That's not what you said at all.
I don't need your best behavior, Zach. I need you. I need you to be you, and you were, and I appreciate that. First show in a while, so check us out on Spotify, Apple, our YouTube channel. As always, got to throw some new shows, and we're going to start talking football at some point here in the next couple of weeks because football season is coming. So lots to look forward to coming up. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.